We're going to switch things up a little bit right now and bring in our next speaker, a breath of fresh air, as I like to call him, GenAI pioneer. He goes by the name Asim Javed.
Wow. How do I follow that, right? I started thinking as I'm listening to Miles, what did I do to deserve this? My good friend Bayes thought it best that I follow Miles. It must be because he saw my speech and said, this is going to be the worst thing possible. Where can I hide it? Right? Let's put it behind the best speech possible so people will assume, okay, that was boring because of what came before, not because the talk is boring. Okay? But no, Miles, wherever you are, there you are. Yeah, thank you for being you. It's the heart. Everybody, please. Yeah. So before I begin, I have a confession to make that probably you will find very difficult to believe. There's a rumor going around, and I will admit this. Yes, I am Pakistani. No, I'm not a hairdresser. Okay? I realized that I needed to get that off my chest, right? Because you're thinking, what's this hairdresser going to tell us about GenAI, right? What the hell does he know? All right, so we know that Geshido is about getting stuff done, right? Well, as I'm thinking about this, 2 days. That's how long it took us in March to do a demonstration in Amsterdam, where we started with an email from a CEO saying, hey, I need this done. Really important business goal. And it took us 2 days to take that email and turn it into a live production product. Okay, it was in the insurance business. And we demonstrated this live in Amsterdam at the SAFE Summit. And that illustrates the power of AI. And I think you saw that this morning with Rory, right? In his presentation about how he got that product. It's all integrated with AI and Miro and so on. And he was able to create something live, right, in a few minutes. Right? So this is the power we're talking about, okay? But here's the question. What if AI just helps you build the wrong shit faster? Right? That's a real danger, okay? And the sad truth is since ChatGPT came out in November of 2022, this is exactly what's been happening, right? 95% of GenAI pilot projects show no measurable ROI impact, okay? 2027, right? The prediction is that more than 40% of all projects will be canceled, okay? This is what's happening. AI, in the beginning right now, is literally just helping us do the wrong stuff faster. So how did we get here? Why is this the case? Well, for the last 20 years or so, we've been consumed by this truth, okay? That every company, is a software company, right? I remember, back in the days of early Agile, we used to proudly say that, look at BMW, it's a car company, right? No, they spend 40% of their R&D on software. And so that was the reality, and up until AI, it was that reality for all of us, right? Every company had to deal with software. It was the fact of life, a fact of business. But I'm here to tell you today that every company is now an AI company, right? Think about that for a minute. Whether your title says it, whether your company name has it in it or not, you are an AI company. AI is swallowing software the way software swallowed traditional business models. And just to review kind of how this has changed everything, in the waterfall era when we did projects and products, it used to take about 2 years, right? You started a project, and about 18 to 24 months later, you would see the result, you would get the feedback, and that's how long the iteration cycle and the time to value was. In the Agile era, we were able to squeeze that down to 2 months. With DevSecOps, we were able to now run iterations that were approximately 2 weeks in length. And that's kind of where we were for a while. But what's happening now with AI? You saw it with Rory this morning. We demonstrated in Amsterdam. We're talking days to hours to get real business value. Okay, that's where we are now. So the question then arises, well, how have we done this, and how is this going to change the way we behave? For 15 years, we've been operating on this concept of a minimum viable product, right? And the key word here was viable, right? That one letter did all the work. We were focused exclusively on viability. Why is that? Because of the famous thing called the iron triangle. Raise of hands, how many people have heard of this iron triangle? Yeah, most of you, right? What the iron triangle basically says is that you can't have all three of these things. You want a lot of work done, and you want it cheap, it's going to take a long time. You want something cheap and you want it quick, you can't build too much, right? So this was the creative tension that we've always been under, and this has been around for something like 20 years. The iron triangle has been around for a long time. And all our projects and our products have been constrained by this. But something has happened. We have now entered the age of AI. We all heard about VUCA this morning, right? I'm here to tell you that the reality is a little bit different now. We're in this edge world, right? Where we have exponential change, disruptive transformation, generative creativity, and emergent behaviors. These are the four forces now in the age of AI that are driving all the impacts that you're seeing, all the disruption you're seeing, all the changes, all the pressures, right? We heard about it in the keynote this morning, right? That those critical decisions by CEOs are now having to be made 2 to 3 times a day. I submit that it's because of edge. This is what the age of AI has done to us, okay? But a benefit of edge and the benefit of AI is that these four forces have contracted the iron triangle, okay? So the viability now is no longer the big issue. In fact, we can now pay attention to 4 other things that previously we weren't able to. We couldn't afford to do it. Viable now becomes viable, feasible, sustainable, and desirable, DVFS, okay? I know this is sounding like a lecture. I'm a teacher, so I kind of fall into teaching mode, right? Apologize for that in advance, right? But essentially, the V of viability is now no longer the only thing that we can focus on. Because of these edge forces, because of what AI is doing in terms of speeding things up, making things easier, we can actually account for viability, feasibility, and sustainability with the help of AI, which really leaves the dominant unknown desirability. Does somebody actually want this? That's something that only human product managers and product owners can actually speak to, right? We speak with other human beings, we interact, we have a heart-to-heart, and we find out what they actually want. And so desirability kind of rises to the top. So here today I'm introducing for the first time this concept that's going to replace the MVP, which has been around for a long time and everyone's familiar with it, with what we're calling the AI steel thread. This is a full stack slice through not just a minimum viable product, but a minimum desirable, viable, feasible, sustainable product, because AI is enabling us to do this now. And that steel thread is going to remain. All we do is we weave more features around it throughout the lifetime of that product. So that thread never goes away. And at all times, we encase this steel thread, this robust MVP, if you will, within the envelope of desirability, viability, feasibility, and sustainability. It's inside that DVFS envelope. Where does this steel thread live? Well, in the business world, we always have these two competing tensions between planning and doing, planning and building, right? So we have to find that balance in between, where this steel thread has just enough planning and just enough building to answer the DVFS need, okay? Now the thing is, we create products and projects typically through PRDs, product requirements documents, or BRDs, business requirements documents, okay? That was how we used to do things. How are we going to do them now? we're going to create executable specifications because we are in an agentic world. And how do we work with agents? We tell them what to do. That's the execution specification. And that's what's going to constrain and control our steel thread as it evolves over time and as the product evolves over time. So you can take a picture of this. When you get back to work, before you write your next product requirements document or your business requirements document, ask the question, could this be a steel thread? And what would that steel thread look like? Is this really desirable? What does viability, feasibility, and sustainability mean to me? And how can I use AI to specify that and grow that over time? So we can spend 2 days building the wrong thing, or we can spend 2 days building the right thing. Your human judgment is what's going to make that possible. So, a couple of QR codes, take some more pictures, go out there and get the right shit done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Asim, Javed. All right, we keep it moving on to our next